Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, folks, and welcome to tonight's 6 p.m. Joint City Council and Bonita Vista Water Improvement District meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present. Council members White and Chair Heyer are joining us tonight electronically. If Marcia and Rich, if you could say hello.
I would love to say hello. I don't think Marcia's on yet.
Did she drop on? Okay, we'll be joined shortly by Councilmember White, and we'll have her check in when she does. I've asked Councilmember Chaburka to lead us in the pledge this evening.
That's right.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Chaburka. If you'll please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, the first item for business tonight is our joint public hearing with the Bonita Vista Water Improvement District boundary adjustments. Before we get started, this is something that I've never done here, is to have a joint meeting in the chambers, but in true form and tongue-in-cheek, of course, Chair Heyer is out of the area on the night that procedure can go a little different and squirrely. But so I'll be leading tonight's meeting, of course. We are joined tonight by Blake Carlin. Nope, Blake didn't make it, sorry. Jerry Allen, and we have Mayor Scott Van Leeuwen, Mayor of Marriott Slaterville, also Vice Chair of the Water District Board of Directors. Correct. We appreciate having you gentlemen here tonight. This meeting will be followed by a regular council meeting where we'll be able to accept public comment on other items other than this. Marcia, did we have you there now?
I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate the heads up. Okay, I think we are all set. We have Mr. Stratford is here tonight to introduce the item. We will be accepting public input on this item, but will not be taking action tonight.
So as I'm preparing to begin, I do think that we need to make we need to notice one item, or to make the public aware of one item, and that is that the district wasn't able to have a quorum of their body here tonight. So they're going to need to have a continuance of their part of this public hearing until their regular meeting, which is scheduled for next Monday, December 10th. And what time is that meeting at? At 6 o'clock at the district offices. And so that's this is a formal announcement that that there will be an additional public hearing at 6 p.m. on December 10th at the Bonita Vista district offices to take additional public hearing and public comments in front of the rest of their board. And so what I wanted to start off with discussing was really why is it that this boundary adjustment is happening? And there are a couple of things that have occurred over the last almost decade out in the west area of Ogden that has led to a need for a realignment. Historically, as Ogden City has had properties annexed in, the properties have gone through the process, and it might have been automatic in the past, to disconnect essentially from Bonavista as they were annexed into Ogden City, and then become part of Ogden City Service District. And like I said, it may have been automatic at some point in the past, but over time it's been required to take formal action in order for those properties to switch from being in the Bonavista Service District into Ogden City. And so in this last, so something that happened about 8 years ago or so was Ogden City improved and expanded its water lines in the area between the freeway and 1900 West. And in that process, it was realized that it didn't really make sense to have dual systems operating out there, both Bonavista and Ogden City. And so Ogden City improved its system and made water available out there, but it wasn't the right time due to rate considerations and other issues to make that transfer happen. And so what's happened in the last year, and I'm going to refer to that in just a minute, is that as Ogden City, based on the recommendation of Weber County, annexed some property, which made it the right time to go ahead and do this boundary adjustment for a large number of people. So there are three types. So this map that you see before you shows all of the properties that are being affected by this boundary line adjustment. So on the far left-hand side of the map is 1900 West. You have 21st Street up there on the north, and the Ogden Airport and Hinckley Drive on the south. And so those properties in red are all properties that are currently in the Bonavista district that will be affected by this proposed boundary adjustment. And there are three kinds of properties that I'll highlight as we go through this. First are properties that were annexed into Ogden City prior to 2018. Second, properties that were annexed at the recommendation of the county commissioners. And finally, properties that are still in unincorporated Weber County, but they're going to be included in this boundary line adjustment because of that water infrastructure that I referred to. So first, properties in Ogden City prior to 2018. So the properties outlined in red or orange, whatever color that looks like to you, were annexed sometime in the last, maybe 2 to 8 or 10 years. There are about 20 or so of those properties. And for whatever reason, either because it didn't happen automatically or because there wasn't some separate petition made, those properties are still in the Bonavista boundaries, even though they are already Ogden City water customers. These customers, these individual properties, will not see any changes in their billing that they're paying right now. They're already billed by Ogden City. Their rates are already based on Ogden City rates. So they won't see any changes in terms of who is sending them a bill from month to month. But what they will see is eventually a change in taxation, because even though they've been in Ogden City, they've still been paying taxes to the Bonavista district. And the second group of properties are those that were recommended by Weber County to be annexed into Ogden City and that the City Council has approved the annexation of. Some of the properties in these areas are Bonavista customers, and some of them are actually Ogden City customers. So this page and the next one that I'm going to show you depict the properties that fit into this category. So for example, at the bottom of this page, there's a very large triangle, which is Scholar Grain. They're actually an Ogden City water customer, have been for a long time, but they are in the Bonavista district. Other properties on here are billed by Bonavista and have been Bonavista customers. And so then this next page shows you the other areas, kind of moving from east to west, east on the right-hand side to west on the left-hand side, that are part of this large annexation that was recommended by the county commission. And again, most of them are Bonavista customers, but there are one or two that are Ogden City customers. So those are the second group of properties that will be affected by this boundary adjustment. And then the final group are areas that are unincorporated before 2018, and they're still unincorporated today because they haven't developed. And as they develop, they will eventually be annexed into Ogden City. But because Ogden City has the water infrastructure in place to serve them, it makes sense to include them as part of the boundary adjustment, and they are in Ogden City's future annexation policy plan. And so that will happen. And again, in for example, the property on the right, Grant Brothers and cash commodities, those are also currently Ogden City customers, not Bonavista customers. So the next question is, okay, well, now we know who is affected. The next question is, well, what effect does this boundary line adjustment have on them? So first of all, the people who are affected by this will be removed from the Bonavista district, which means the taxes for Bonavista will be removed from their property. Originally, the hope was that would be accomplished so they would not be paying Bonavista taxes in 2019. However, due to challenges with getting a final map prepared and approved, it's likely almost a certainty that they will pay taxes to Bonavista in 2019, but those taxes will drop off in 2020. So then the question is, okay, well, what's the impact of that Bonavista tax rate? The Bonavista tax rate in 2018 was 0.000237. One of the lowest taxing entities that people see on their bills. Not the absolute lowest, but pretty far down the list of taxing entities. And so for a residence valued at $150,000 in 2018, the consequence is about a $20 tax bill. For a business valued at $350,000, that when you multiply the value times that tax rate, it's about $83. And so the properties will end up paying that again in 2019, but then it'll drop off, and in the future that will no longer be assessed from Bonavista. The other impact has to do with the actual water rates. And I do want to make clear, so there was, last week, Ogden City did send out an additional notice to all property owners in the area that provided information about Ogden City services and people's property. The letter included a lot of information that went way beyond what's going to be talked about here tonight, because it talks about all of Ogden City services. Ogden City's trash service, Ogden City streets, Ogden City business licensing, because most people who are affected by this are being annexed into the city. But for purposes of this meeting, we want to focus specifically on what's the financial impact associated with the water rates. And so inside of Ogden City, first of all, people who are annexed into Ogden City are required to connect to Ogden City water. There are two rates for Ogden City that make up your water bill, which is actually similar to what Bonavista does as well. There's a base rate, which is based on your meter size, and then there's a usage rate based on how much water passes through the meter that you use from month to month. So in the case of Bonavista, Bonavista's residential water rates, their base rate, which you pay just basically to be a customer before you use any water, for a residential person is about $12 a month less than Ogden City's rates. And so if you're a residential customer, 3/4 inch line, you'll see your base rate increase. On the other side, if you're a commercial user on Bonavista's system, those users actually pay about $5 a month more than Ogden City for their water, and it's about so they would see their base rate drop. Now, it's important to know that this is just based on 3/4 inch meters. Depending upon the size of meter, the numbers change, but this is just an illustration of what would happen to 3/4 inch meter customers. So then the second component of the water bill is based on usage. And again, it says usage is determined by meter size. In Ogden City, you're determined to be a commercial customer based on your meter size. And for the smaller meters, whether or not you have access to irrigation. But generally, again, if you're a residential user, Ogden City's usage rate for the first 6,000 gallons is about $1.10 per 1,000 gallons, higher than Bonavista. When you go from 6,000 to 12,000 gallons, it's about $1.50 more per 1,000, higher, 12 to 20,000, $1.75 more, and over 20,000 gallons, about $1.35 more. So again, this is for illustration. If people have specific questions, they can talk to our water department about what might happen there. But they will see higher bills in Ogden City than they would have seen under their Bonavista account. And in Ogden City, if you're a commercial user, you're 1.5 inch or larger. Again, there's because Bonavista's usage rates change a little bit differently than Ogden City's do. You pay about $1.42 to $1.53 more than Bonavista per 1,000 gallons of water used. And then finally, if you're a customer outside of Ogden City's corporate boundary, you pay double the rate that an inside of city user would pay. The only people that double rate would apply to would be any users in these areas here, not to any of the other people we've talked about. It's just that third category of water users that would be affected by the double rate. And so then the question is, okay, for all those who are affected, how does this transition work from Bonavista to Ogden City? So our understanding is that Bonavista will do a final meter reading at the end of this month, sometime after December 25th, so around the 26th or 27th. That information will then be given to Ogden City so that Ogden City knows what those meters are at. Meters will not be changed. The meters will stay there. It will be the same meters, we use the same reading system, the same kinds of meters, same technology, and so there won't be any change in how the water goes to the property. Ogden City will begin reading those meters in January, and for this part of the service area, Ogden City does readings about the third week of January. So people will notice that their January bill will be prorated. They won't be paying the full base rate for January. They'll pay for their usage, but they won't pay the full base rate. So they'll see a full, true Ogden City bill beginning in February when it won't be prorated anymore at that point. And so in order to make the transition work as efficiently as possible, Ogden City, and this was explained in the letter that I referred to and that went out last week, is asking that people come to Ogden City and establish a new utility account by December 21st. And that will be the best way of making this work so that everything can get set up properly. Ogden City does have some requirements. We asked the property owner to appear in person with photo ID. The property owner is required to provide a personal guarantee that payment will be made for water usage, and the address and phone number for the Public Works Department was included in that letter. Now, if you're one of the people who's been annexed into Ogden City, then setting up the utility account will also involve setting up sewer and trash service and things like that. If you're not in Ogden City, if you're one of those people that's still in unincorporated Weber County, then it's just the water account that we're talking about. So the final thing I wanted to show was how easy it is on the Ogden City website to be able to find information about Ogden City water and answer some questions that you might have. And so there's really two places that you can go to get there. You can either go to the Government tab, and at the bottom of the Government tab, you can't quite see it on here, it's cut off, but on the bottom under Departments, all the way at the bottom, there's a link to the Water Department. Or you can go to the tab that says Services, and then you can see right there under Public Services that you can go to the Water Department and see all of the information about alerts, services, projects, meters, maintenance rates, and things like that. So there's multiple easy ways to get to the Ogden City Water webpage that can answer more questions that people might have associated with the changeover in these boundaries. Does anybody from the council or Bonavista have questions for me?
No questions? Anyone?
So how many notifications have they received about this change?
So for this meeting, depends on how you want to count it. For this meeting specifically, people should have received really 3 opportunities for notice. One of them was published in the Standard Examiner back in both Bonavista and Ogden City adopted a notice of intent resolution, and there was a published notice in the Standard Examiner about tonight's meeting. Ogden City and Bonavista sent out essentially a joint mailing with some additional information that explained some of what I've talked about tonight at about that same time. And then last week we sent out the third form of notice, which was information about how the switchover would work.
Then sign up, you'll have reminders sent to those who need to sign up for the change.
Well, if somebody doesn't sign up before December 21st, there will be a reminder that'll go out after that. I don't know that they'll get another reminder before December 21st, but the hope is that people will start to come in and make those changes, and then they'll get additional reminders after that.
Changes have to be at the end of December, is that correct?
They can happen any time from now forward, but we would really like to do it before the end of December once we take over the meter reading.
Else? Bonavista board members, any questions?
No, this is something that's been coming down the line for the last decade, and it'll be beneficial for everybody, and we will ratify it on our meeting at the 10th. That's really all we have to say, I think.
Mark, before you, sorry, trying to save your knees. I already know the answer because we talked about it in the work session, but I just wanted to put it out here, and this setting gets a little more visibility for those folks that aren't aware. But can you talk about the tax implications for the new calendar year that we talked about in the work session for me?
Right. So because we're not able to complete all of the steps that are required by state law to get this done before the end of the year, then people next year will see a Bonavista Vista tax on their tax bill, and it'll be an amount approximately the amounts that I described. That will depend slightly on changes in property values and whether or not any tax rates change, but it probably be in the same general range. So they will see that in 2019 as a tax on their tax bill. And they might say, well, wait a minute, Ogden City's been running this for a year now, but it's just due to the timing and the way the state statutes are lined up. But then in 2020, that tax rate will drop off and the Bonavista Vista rate won't appear anymore on their tax bills.
Okay, so we talked about in the work session that you'll be kind of looking to dig up the amount of the tax implication.
Well, we'll get that
the
information.
best you can.
Yeah, to the city council. We'll provide that.
Okay, and maybe once we know the amount, or we might have some options in front of us that we could consider to potentially sort it out.
Yeah, you'll have to address that as a separate item. Yes. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, like I said, we're not going to be taking action on this item. However, we will be accepting public input. But before we do so, for those folks that do wish to provide public input, we do have a sign-up sheet in the back. If before we take action, we will make sure that we have notify those folks that sign our sheets so that you'll be up to speed. So please, if you have public input on this item specifically, please come to the microphone, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Stevens, seconded by Councilmember Blair to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Council members, any additional comment before we move to the next item? Any comments from Bonavista Vista board members? Mayor? Okay. Yeah, we'll get that. Okay. Well, thanks, folks. That was a little different than what we're used to, but appreciate you two being here with us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Before we adjourn the meeting, we'll take comments from the mayor and the council member,
Okay.
and just in case. So, Mr. Mayor.
This time, thank you.
Okay. Council members. Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you.
With that, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Blair to adjourn the joint City Council and Bonavista Vista Water Improvement District meeting, seconded by Councilmember Lopez. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. That's okay. Okay, let's get started again. Welcome to the December 4th City Council meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present. We are joined this evening electronically by Council Members White and Chair Heyer. If you'll please say hello.
Hello, people.
Hello.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes for the joint work session of June 5th, 2018 and work session of July 10th, 2018. Councilmember Stevens.
Yes, Vice Chair, they're correct.
For the regular meeting of July 17th, 2018, Councilmember Blair.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. I have reviewed those and found them to be correct.
For the joint work session of July 17th, 2018 and joint work session of August 14th, 2018, Councilmember Chaburka.
Yes, I have read the minutes and they're correct to my recollection.
For the special meeting of August 14th, 2018, and joint work session of August 21st, 2018, Councilmember White.
Yes, Vice Chair, I read those and they are correct to my recollection.
Thank you. For the regular meeting of August 21st, 2018, Councilmember Lopez.
Yes, Vice Chair, I read the minutes and found them to be accurate, and I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented by Councilmember Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Blair. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. Okay, the next item on our agenda is we are considering two items for common consent that are to set the public hearing for proposed ordinances that amend fees related to the Mount Ogden and El Monte golf courses and the Ogden City Cemetery. I'll entertain a motion for action.
Vice Chair, I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for those two ordinances.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jaburka, seconded by Councilmember Blair to set the public hearings by approving the items in the common consent. This is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion passes. And finally, for our next item on the agenda, reports from the administration. We'll be hearing from Deputy Chief Shelby Willis on the pre-disaster grant, mitigation grant. Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here representing emergency management. Typically you would see Chief Perkins here. He's the emergency manager for the city, but he's away at a conference. So I'll be discussing with you tonight the federal disaster mitigation grant. This grant is a federal grant, and the purpose of this is to provide federal dollars for disaster mitigation. It's also a competitive grant, which means we're competing against other municipalities within the United States and U.S. territories. The goal with this grant for emergency management is to purchase a mobile generator. Today, emergency management recognizes a shortfall in generator power within the city. Our two facilities that we utilize for sheltering citizens, or if we ever had to relocate employees because we lost a facility within the city, does not have generator power. This mobile generator would allow us to use this throughout the city. The city will be conducting an electrical analysis to determine the correct size, whether it's a 300K, 400K, or 500K. And the funds that we are requesting, the $300,000, would adequately purchase the appropriate size generator. This grant does require a match, which means if we apply for $300,000, we have to provide a 25% match, or $75,000. Chief Matthew has worked with the other department directors, and we are able to provide that match should we recognize federal dollars, and we'll be able to do that in fiscal year 19. The grant is due to the state December 7th, so this Friday, and the state will then process the grant and send it to FEMA in January of 2019. FEMA will make decisions in May of 2019. So tonight we seek your approval on this joint resolution to apply for this disaster mitigation grant, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the council? Looks like you've answered them all.
Great.
That's an impressive briefing. Okay, unless there are any other questions, I'll entertain action on this item.
Vice Chair Nadolski, I make a motion to adopt proposed resolution 2018-9.
I second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Stevens to adopt proposed joint resolution 2018-9. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Jaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nadolski,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Appreciate you being here and your preparation and professionalism. Next item on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding concerns or ideas on any topic. Please, if you come to the mic, state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I want to give you my personal greetings. This is one way I get everybody's attention.
Yeah, you got it.
Now you just have to look at the hat and not me.
You've got our attention, John.
Okay. I want to thank Councilman
If you
Ben.
Can you sorry, just state your name for
What's
the record.
that?
Can you just state your name for the record? Sorry.
Oh, yes, John Prescott, and I represent Roads to Independence, persons with disabilities. And Ben came, my brother, Ben. Ben came to Roads to Independence at a request from myself to the board. And he spent a couple hours with us. And I'd like to thank you, because those were well-used minutes in our behalf. And I felt like that we gained a lot of a lot of help from that. For Councilman Nadowski to get in the wheelchair and roll from 33rd and Washington to 25th Street and Washington, that has to be a task in itself in a regular type of wheelchair. Not a power wheelchair. I'd have passed him up 10 times. But I wanted to thank him for taking the time out, spending it with us, talking to us, asking a lot of questions, and just giving us, we wanted to show him what we had to offer. And it doesn't stop there, because in October of this coming year, I'm challenging the whole council to play wheelchair basketball against our professional wheelchair basketball team. So that means you've got 10 months to get ready. So, and Councilman Stevens, I expect him to be the captain there of the team. But anyway, thank you for this time.
Thank you so much, John.
Hey, thanks, John, for all you do for those who have less advantages than most of us. Appreciate you coming and making that challenge, and I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for all you do.
Hey, thanks, Councilman High. I appreciate that.
John, before you go, I think I actually am the one that owe you the thank you.
What's that?
I think I'm the one that owes you a thank you. As I told you that day, I learned a lot, and I met wonderful people too. And I just want you to know that the experience that I had is more than just going somewhere and doing something. It was going somewhere, meeting people, learning things through experience, by putting ourselves in the same position that you're in, so that we can empathize and understand the way that you want us to. And I was happy to do that, not just for myself and for my own benefit, but for the benefit of the council. We collectively are a council who cares. We are a council that wants to know and to understand, and we want you to know that we collectively do that. I was there for all of us and on our collective behalf, okay?
I appreciated that, and I'm available, if I can stay out of the hospital.
I'm glad to see you're doing better.
Yeah, I am, but I'm in a care center right now, but care centers that are easy going on you as long as you're doing okay.
Well, John, we love you. We're glad to have you, and
What's that?
We love you. We're glad to have you, and we sure appreciate you.
Hey, I enjoy coming. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to get out of the building, to talk among civilized people.
God bless. Okay, anybody else have any comments for the council?
I'd like to trade some of my players if possible.
Hey.
John should know that we've got 10 months, but we're all stretching our hamstrings underneath this dais right now. Maybe Doug might have to be the coach.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay.
Well, I understand that Carl Malone now is in a wheelchair, so he's going to be playing.
Oh, wow. Well, it wouldn't be the first time I took it to the mailman, but thanks, John. Comments from the mayor? From the mayor.
Sure, I'll give props to Councilman Nadolski. I was in a meeting after he took that wheelchair, all of those blocks, and he came in lathered up and completely exhausted after just that one thing. So he represented.
I wish I could have rolled my wheelchair along with him. It was a little cold that day. I didn't bring my jacket.
I was not cold in myself. But.
I would have loved to roll right along with the side.
He had a good sweat going. He wasn't cold a bit. With that, we had Jay Louder that was here earlier. I'd just like to again thank he and his crew for everything they did for Christmas Village. That is it's months and months of effort being on a plucker, and I mentioned last time I did my Christmas lights. It took me 3 hours, and I was absolutely exhausted after that. To be out there for months and months doing that, that's something that we need to thank. And then I just want to give a quick shout out to our public safety group. I think everybody's aware that we've had a number of very emotional and unique things happen in the last last month, and we can't appreciate and respect the work that they do day in and day out to keep the community safe and the sacrifices that they make. So I just want to publicly shout them out.
Anything from the council members?
Echo what the mayor said. I thought the Christmas light parade was done very well, and we had a lot of fun and meeting those who came down to visit the light parade. And the Christmas Village is just immaculate tonight and the rest of the nights. And I guess it'll be there until the end of the year. Is that right? Okay. And maybe we ought to have the mayor. Could you do the cheer for us, or lead us in the cheer?
That was a council chair. That's yours to make.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Great, great, great.
Thank you, Marcia. That was awkward duel of two sides of government there for a second.
Bring that up again too. I mean, Weaver State had a fantastic athletics day on Saturday with the football team rolling and Weaver beating BYU. It was a good day to wear purple. Appreciate what you're wearing, Councilman Stevens.
Great day to bleed purple. It's amazing what can happen.
Totally agree.
It's amazing what can happen when they don't have athletes like myself anymore. Impressive. Any other comments from council members?
I just wanted to say how much I appreciated the quick communications from the public safety officers about the incidents happening. I think that really helps the community understand what's happening, and I really appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll make a few comments myself. I just wanted to give credit where credit's due. When I did wheel into that meeting, it was a joint leadership meeting with the mayor and Mark, and John's not here to hear it, but we did have a genuine and thoughtful conversation about the exercise at hand and the implications to the folks in our community. And so I just want to give credit where credit's due that was a good opportunity for us to talk about as joint leadership, not just as a council. And so the awareness is beyond just those of the 7 of us on the council, but I hope it extends to those in the administration. And to that point, when I was at the Roads to Independence, the folks there were telling me about how awesome our engineering staff is to work with, and that they have been on our sidewalks and roads and have seen challenges and dangers, and they've called our engineering division, and our engineering division answers the phone. They listen to the challenge and they solve the problem for them, and they were really appreciative of that. And so as I was coming up the elevator with Brandon, lo and behold, who's at the door when the doors open? Justin Anderson, city engineer, deputy director of public works. The guy that they called and the guy that answered the need. And so hats off to Justin, to those people in the trenches that just always come through for those people. I really appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to mention was that if it's been a while. Councilmember Lopez and I were walking out of a meeting here, and we met a young man. I won't mention his name, and I don't know him well enough to know what his needs are, but he has unique needs, and he was walking around the municipal building looking for a job, and he was doing so in earnest, and he was prepared, and he was kind. And it was a few weeks later that I was walking back into the municipal building, and who did I see working for Ogden City is that same young man. With those, he had unique needs. I know he needed unique attention, and someone at the Christmas Village, someone on our staff gave him the unique need and attention that he needed. And I talked with him, and it was really heartwarming to see how much he was loving his role decorating and preparing the Christmas Village. And whoever it is that saw the need and stopped and gave the person the attention that he deserved, I thank you for that. It makes a difference when we do those things. And finally, I do hope we'll all participate in the wheelchair basketball, and I'm asking on behalf of my wife, who has messaged me and who is watching live. Why, I do not know. But she's asking if she can participate in hoops as well. And for the record, Janie and I have only played basketball with each other one time, and I took her to the hole and fouled tremendously on the way there, and I've claimed victory ever since. But she'll probably be joining us, so spouses, I think, are welcome to attend. Sorry for the long comments. Any other comments from the council? Okay, thank you so much. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jaburka, second by Councilmember Lopez to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.